I don't believe in ghosts, or at least I didn't. Until 8 months ago, my skepticism was a badge of honour, worn proudly at family gatherings where stories of spectral sightings and haunted houses would fly around like autumn leaves. I'd laugh it off, sipping my beer, offering rational explanations, but now I'm not so sure. It started the night my heart stopped. The day had been unremarkable. I woke up late after another night of doom scrolling on my phone. Work had been his usual grind of spreadsheets and passive-aggressive emails. By the time I got home, I was drained, more emotionally than physically. I microwaved leftovers, watched an old sitcom, and climbed into bed around midnight. And that's when it happened. At first, it felt like heartburn, a dull burning ache in my chest. I ignored it, thinking it was leftover lasagna rebelling against me. But within minutes, the pain grew sharper, radiating down my arm and into my jaw. My breath grew shallow. I tried sitting up, but the world tilted sideways and I collapsed back onto the mattress. I tried calling out for help, though I knew no one would hear as I live alone. Then came total darkness. When I came to, I was in the hospital. Fluorescent lights were buzzing overhead like a swarm of angry bees. A nurse leaned over me, her face a blur, and she told me that I'd suffered a cardiac arrest. "You're lucky," she said. "Paramedics got to you just in time." But lucky wasn't how I felt. As I lay in the hospital bed trying to process what had happened, I couldn't shake the memory of the void. It wasn't just darkness, it was absence. Of light, of sound, and of feeling. I'd always assumed that death would have been, well, something. A tunnel of light, maybe? Or a replay of my life flashing before my eyes. But there had been nothing. Just emptiness. Nothingness. Or so I thought. The first sign that something was wrong came the night I got home from the hospital. I was still weak, moving slowly. Every breath reminded me of how fragile I'd become. I'd shuffled to the kitchen to make tea, and that's when I noticed it. A faint scent of smoke. Not cigarette smoke or wood smoke. Something acidic, almost sterile, like chemicals. It hung in the air like a memory, just strong enough to make me cough. I searched the apartment, checking every outlet, sniffing at the walls, and even crawling into the cupboards in the kitchen to make sure a fire wasn't starting somewhere. Nothing. Eventually I gave up, chalking it up to my medication messing with my senses, but the smell came back again the next night. Then came the shadows. At first, it was subtle, a flicker in the corner of my eye, the kind you dismiss your brain for playing tricks on you, but soon they become harder to ignore. I'd seen movement where there shouldn't have been any. The corner of my living room, the hallway outside my bedroom. I told myself it was just my imagination. My nerves are still frayed from the trauma of nearly dying. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The worst was in the reflection of the bathroom mirror. One night, as I was brushing my teeth, I caught a glimpse of something behind me. A figure, barely more than a silhouette, standing just inside my doorway. My heart launched and I spun around, but the doorway was empty. When I looked back in the mirror, the figure was gone. I stopped brushing my teeth after dark after that experience. After a few days had passed, I wasn't sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd feel it, a presence, heavy and oppressive, like being watched by something you can't see. The smell of that smoke grew stronger. One night, I was desperate for answers. I stayed up, clutching my flashlight like a talisman. At around 3:15, I heard it. It was a voice. It wasn't a whisper, not exactly. More like a low murmur, the kind you hear in a crowded room when everyone's speaking at once. It was coming from the hallway, my hallway. I froze, every instinct screaming at me to stay put. But some perverse curiosity pushed me to investigating. The hallway was empty, of course, but as I stood there, shivering in my pajamas, I felt it again, the presence, only this time it was closer, right behind me. I turned expecting to find nothing. Instead, I saw myself. It was like looking into a distorted mirror. The figure standing before me looked exactly like me, down to the small birthmark on my chin. But his eyes were wrong. They were dark, empty sockets, like holes punched through paper. And its smile, God, that smile, it was too wide, too sharp, like it had been carved into its face. "Why did you come back?" it asked, its voice hollow and rasping. I stumbled backwards, my legs threatening to give out. What are you?" It tilted its head, studying me like a predator sizing up its prey. "You weren't supposed to return," it said. "You were ours." And then it lunged at me. I woke up on the floor, gasping for air, the smell of smoke choking me. My chest burned, and for a terrifying moment, I thought I was having another heart attack. But as I looked around, I realised I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was back in the void. The emptiness was suffocating, pressing on me from all sides, and in the distance I saw them, figures, hundreds of them, shrouded in shadows, their empty eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. They were all watching me. "Why did you come back?" their voices echoed, a cacophony that made my head throb. "I don't know," I screamed, tears streaming down my face. "I didn't mean to." For a moment, the figures seemed to hesitate. Then one of them stepped forward. It was me, an accurate, smiling version of me, the only thing that looked normal among the shadows. "You don't belong here anymore," it said, "but you don't belong there either." "What does that mean?" I asked, my voice trembling. "You'll soon understand." Suddenly, I jolted awake, my lungs burning as I sucked in air. For a moment, I thought I was back in my apartment, but the beeping of monitors and the faint antiseptic smell told me otherwise. I was in a hospital bed. A nurse appeared at my side, her face a mix of relief and exhaustion. "Welcome back," she said softly. "You gave us a scare." "What happened?" My voice was barely more than a whisper, my throat raw. "You went into cardiac arrest," she explained. "You've been in a coma for 3 days. We didn't think..." Her voice tailored off, but her message was clear. I wasn't supposed to make it. I tried to process her words, but my mind was still reeling from the shadows, the voices, and the void. Had it all been a dream, a hallucination, or something else entirely? As I lay there, staring at the ceiling, the smell of smoke returned, faint but unmistakable. I turned my head, heart racing, but the room was empty, just me, the nurse, and the machines keeping me alive. The faint scent of smoke lingered for a moment longer, then it disappeared entirely, leaving only the sterile smell of the hospital. I let out a shaky breath, my pulse gradually steadying. I was alive, I was here. Whatever I'd experienced, a dream, hallucination, or something far more inexplicable, it had shaken me to my core. I don't know what's out there, but I know this. There's more to life and death than I'd ever believed, and as terrifying as it was, I'm grateful to have been given another chance. When my father passed away, I thought that grief would have been the hardest thing to endure. I was wrong. His death brought something else into my life, something darker, heavier, and impossible to explain. The shadows began appearing 3 weeks after his funeral. At first, they were subtle, easy to dismiss, a flicker in the corner of my eye, like a curtain swaying when no windows were open. I told myself it was fatigue. After all, I hadn't been sleeping well since Dad died. But it didn't stop. The flickers became shapes, shadowy figures that lingered just outside the edge of my vision, and they weren't content to stay in the corners of the room. The first time one of them moved closer, I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through old photos of Dad on my phone. My apartment was quiet. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator. Out of nowhere, the room felt colder. Not just chilly, a bone-deep cold that made my hair on the back of my neck stand up. Then I saw it. A shadow, vaguely human-shaped, standing just a few feet away. Its form rippled, like smoke caught in a breeze, and though it had no face, I swear it was staring at me. My heart raced as I froze, unsure whether to scream or run. Before I could do either, it disappeared, melting into the walls as if it never been there. That was the first time I questioned my sanity. Over the years, the shadows became more brazen. They appeared in my bedroom at night, standing at the foot of my bed. Sometimes I'd wake up to find one hovering just inches from my face, its dark form pulsating like it was alive. Other times I'd hear faint whispers, words I couldn't make out. I've tried everything to make them go away. Therapy, cleansing rituals, even calling in a priest to bless my apartment. Nothing worked. The shadows didn't care about sage or holy water. They were part of my life now. And like unwelcome guests, they refused to leave. I started to believe they were tied to Dad's death, that maybe, in some twisted way, they were connected to the grief I carried. But why? What did they want from me? The turning point came 6 months ago. I was driving home late from work, tired and distracted, when a truck ran a red light and ploughed into the side of my car. The impact was like a bomb going off. Metal crumpled, glass shattered, and my body was thrown violently against the steering wheel. And then came silence. I don't know how long I was unconscious, but when I came to, I wasn't in my car anymore. I was, well, somewhere else. It was a place I can barely describe. Everything was bathed in a soft golden light that didn't seem to come from any particular source. The air was warm, comforting, and filled with a strange sense of peace. For the first time in years, I felt safe. And that's when I saw him. Dad stood a few feet away, looking healthy, like long before the cancer that took him. His hair was neatly combed, his favourite flannel shirt was buttoned up, and his smile was the same one I'd missed so much. I wanted to run to him, to hug him and never let go, but my legs felt like they were made of lead. "Hi kiddo," he said, his voice steady and familiar. "I've missed you." Tears streamed down my face as I tried to speak, but all I could manage was a choked, "Dad." He walked towards me, his steps soft and calm, and placed his hand on my shoulder. It felt solid, warm, so real that I forgot for a moment that he was supposed to be gone. "I know what's been happening," he said, his voice soft and firm. "The shadows, the fear, I've seen it all." "Why?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Why won't they leave me alone?" Dad's expression grew somber. They're a reflection of what's inside you. The pain, the guilt, the anger. You've been holding on to it for too long. They feed on that, grow stronger because of it. "I don't know how to stop," I admitted, my voice breaking. "I've tried, but I can't let go of you. I miss you so much." He pulled me into a hug, and for the first time since his death, I felt whole. "It's okay to miss me," he said, "but you have to have faith in yourself and in the life you're still meant to live. Holding on to the past won't bring me back, and it won't bring you peace." I clung to him, desperate to stay in that moment forever, but I could feel it slipping away, like sand through my fingers. "Let go of the shadows," he said. "They don't own you. You have the strength to move forward, even if it feels impossible right now. Trust me, kiddo. You're not alone." When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. My body bruised and bandaged, but alive. The steady beep of monitors filled the room, and the fluorescent lights made me squint. A nurse was checking my vitals. "Luck was on your side," she said. "The paramedics got to you just in time." I nodded weakly, too overwhelmed to respond. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of what I'd experienced. Was it a dream, a hallucination brought on by the trauma, or had I really seen my father? In the days that followed, I noticed something strange. The shadows were gone. The oppressive presence that had haunted me for years had lifted, leaving my apartment feeling lighter, almost eerie. For the first time since my father's death, I could sleep through the night without waking up in terror. I don't have all the answers. Maybe what I saw was a product of my subconscious, a way for my mind to finally process my grief. Or maybe it was real, a glimpse of something beyond this life. Either way, I've come to believe that my father was right. The shadows were never the cause of my pain, but they were a symptom. By confronting my grief and finding the strength to let go, I took away their power, and in doing so, I found peace. Now, when I think of Dad's death, I don't feel the sharp sting of loss. Instead, I remember his warmth, his humour, and the way he'd always knew just what to say. I still miss him every day, but I no longer feel trapped in the darkness. Life is fragile, unpredictable, and often unfair, but it's also a gift. And for the first time in years, I'm finally ready to embrace it. Alright guys, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.